Hello everyone, and welcome to my project, an investigation as the crow flies, where we ask a very simple but yet overly complicated problem. What causes an arrow to fly? So before we answer this, we have to first acknowledge and ask about the contraption that, shoots the arrow. So, what's a bow? A bow is essentially just in its earliest form all the way back in the yonder days of 30,000 BCE. It's just a stick with a string that shoots another stick. The one I used in my pictures later on is a recurve, which is a slightly more modernized, if still before Common Era, is modernized version of it. It's more streamlined and it's able to have more force, but that doesn't really matter since I am not approximating force or measuring it. I'm just asking the question. Continuing now. So we have to now dissect what the systems are inside the bow. That way we can figure out which one is actually going to give us our answer of what causes the arrow to fly. There are 5 systems in the entire process. There's the bow system, which is pretty much the wooden part. There's the holder hand, which is the hand that holds the bow. There's the string system, which is the bowstring. There's the drawer hand, which is the hand that's pretty much knocking the arrow. And then there's the arrow system. So first up, we have the bow system, which I already pre-drew on. The photos were taken by my sibling. And so, long and short of it is essentially the bow is being pulled back slightly and a little bit more when it's drawn by the string, and everything else is in equilibrium. And next, we have the holder system. This one only has movement and force in the y-axis, because it's literally just holding it. It's not being pulled by anything. It's just standing there. It's your anchor. But after this, we have the string system. This has movement in both the X and Y, but when it's at rest, it's only pulled slightly forward by the bow because, according to Newton, they are exerting an equal and opposite force on each other. And when it's drawn, it's in equilibrium because it's not moving from that position. Although it is still being pulled forward, and it is being pulled backwards, and is still, holding its own weight and being pulled up by other things. Next, we have the drawer system. This is a system of your hand that is pulling back the string. It has resistance from the from the string, pulling it forward. It has, very obviously, your muscles pulling it back because you need to. And then it has you also slightly holding it up so it's just not limp. And it also has the weight of gravity pulling it down. And next, we have our arrow system. This is the system that caused me the most headache because, as you can see in my picture, it has no x-axis movement, and I thought this would be the one that would have my answer. However, it does not. It only is being held up by the string and the bow, because if you looked closer at the string, there is a little knobbly bit that essentially you rest the back of the arrow on, where the feathers are. Well, what would be feathers? It was like an actual arrow. And then the front where the arrow point is, it's just resting on the arrow shelf, so it's only having force applied in the Y direction. So this caused me a bit of a headache. As you can see very clearly here by my visual representation of my brain trying to figure out what on earth I am supposed to do. But it was because of all of this chaos that I came up with my idea of the fact that the arrow wasn't my variable I was looking for. In fact, I was looking for my drawer hand and the forces acting on that, since that was what was removed. So, this is averted now. And now, instead of the arrow, we use the drawer hand. So because of this, and now we have the diagrams all sorted away, and now we know which one we're choosing, we have two questions. What is the potential energy that would launch the arrow forward, and what is that potential energy converted into? So the answer to the question is the potential energy would be elastic potential energy. And this is because it is all caused by the resistance little arrow that I had back in my picture. So I'm just going to draw a little visual representation here. There it goes. So this was caused by the string wanting to go back to this state of being straight. And since the exact definition is the energy available for use when a deformed elastic object returns to its original configuration, it would be a logical step forward to assume that it is the elastic potential energy that, once your hand releases, pushes the arrow off into the sunset and hopefully into your target. However, it is not the potential energy itself. It is what the potential energy converts into that launches your arrow. And that, my dear friends, is a different type of energy. The energy that the elastic potential is converted to is very clearly kinetic energy, because it's a mechanical energy, and mechanical energy doesn't transfer as a potential energy into most any other type of energy. However, long story short, it just converts to kinetic energy, which is the energy of an object that is due to the object's motion. And the reason it is converted into that, or the reason we know it's converted into that, is because the arrow actually moves. The arrow flies forward and into your target. So that is essentially it. And my conclusion to my investigation is that there are two things causing the arrow to fly. Essentially, it's the arrow stored in your drawback, the elastic potential energy, and then that arrow, that energy, is converted into kinetic energy when you release the string, causing the arrow to fly forward and hopefully hit your target. Thank you for coming to my lovely presentation, I guess. This is my bibliography. Some of these sources weren't listed in this because they were in my research paper more. This is an overly condensed version of that. But have a great evening, day, afternoon, whatever time you're in, and bye.